So today I'll discuss about development first. I'll write down the topic and I'll discuss about four theories of praise. Have you heard about four theories of praise? It is very important to understand development. In order to understand development, you need to understand the role of media with government. So how media is dealing with government? What is the position of media in one particular state? It's very important to understand the level of development and also to report development. Okay. So have you gone through those four theories of praise? Those of you who are from mass communication, you know about those four theories of praise. Ma'am, could you just say one again? Libertarian theory. Yes. You know. Yes. What does it mean? Um, Ma'am, I can't recall it right now, but okay. I have read those theories. Okay. The thing is that when I said that first we talk about development. Okay. So yesterday I asked you about development. What is development? You told me that improvement and bringing in the public, some of the interest of public matter into the public attention. Right. So that is what is development. So if I say development is constructing building, will it be development? Development is all about constructing buildings. Is development is related to only about NGO intervention or NGO itinerary? Is development is about 9 to 5 job? If development is about gathering people? No. Development is about gathering people? No. Then what is development? I guess it has different components. Like development depends on area, the people living there and their priorities and what is their need, what is their need, and to work on that. Okay, we are talking about need-based development. Yes, when we are talking about the priorities and preferences of the people and need of the people, identifying the need of the people, and then to design a course of action is basically need-based development. So you can talk about need-based development, that will come later because there are different dimensions of development. When we say different dimensions, we can also see that there is types of development. You can talk about social development, economic development, political development. There are also some of the theoretical framework associated with this development. Like we have also Marxist notion of development. We also have a liberal notion of development. We have a Gandhian notion of development. And Amartya Sen, his concept of development is different because he talked about capability. He talked about capacity building and building of capability and skill based development. So which is very important, and this is a part of human development index. Okay, so when we talk about this development is not about gathering people. We say that we talk about people-centered development. Now we talk about people-centered development because we also come to realize that development is not about giving. So it is a concept which is associated with the welfare state. The welfare state that came up, basically that concept has been popularized in 1960s. During 1960s, that welfare state concept has been popularized because you actually see that during that period of time, industrialization has also sink in. So these big industrialists started thinking about, you see, they're thinking more about social development than about productivity and efficiency during that period of time. And when they talk about the social development, it basically incorporates what? Health, education, unemployment, illiteracy, right? To think on this very aspect. So when we talk about gathering of people, it is not development. Gathering of people is not development, but you see, mobilization of a community is development, and that is what is people-centered development, right? We talk about people-centered development, and it is also a political agenda. When we talk about the mobilization of the people, and then you intervene. And intervention is also a sustained endeavor. It is not a timely intervention by an NGO. So that intervention can be from the government side, from even these local community organizations, okay, to bring about improvement of the conditions. Okay, so when you talk about this intervention, it is also a surface concept at the same time. We talk about intervention by NGOs. It is also a surface concept because NGO usually work for social development. And when we talk about the social development, this concept, social planning concept is also there. Social development concept is there. We have another concept called social planning, where all these community-based organization usually um, take care of community by, you see, giving something in piecemeal. The same time, you also see they carry out some of the surveys. Okay, they try to find out the needs of the community through the survey, through interviews, and based on the needs, they develop a course of actions. So they also come into discussion with expert and governments, and also bring in other pressure groups, and they try to develop priorities of the communities, which you said need-based development. Accordingly, they will provide some of the development benefit. They will construct a school. They will also, like, bore well. Okay, they will also, you see, they take care of hygiene of this community. Okay, so that is also project-based development for a period of time, not necessarily that will involve the people. Okay, so it is very, very important to understand development first in order to have a clear idea about development journalism. Okay, so we say development, it is not about gathering people, it is about mobilization of the community. It is also about what? It is about a sustained endeavor or a sustained intervention. Okay, sustained intervention. So it is not like you go intervene for a couple of months, then you just pull out. So it's not like that. Okay. So most of the NGOs usually do that because then the task is handed over to a community. But you see, when the task is handed over to a community, then also you need to find out their level of maturity, community's level of maturity to take the task. Okay. So your role is not simply to report the government, let me tell you. Report the government intervention, report the government schemes, government programs. Okay. But we had that definition of development journalism, which was quite popular. People usually understand development journalism is all about reporting the development brought by this government. But that definition is now outdated. Okay, so we talk about different, as in now, stakeholders of this development, because it is not something which is a very statist concept that state will bring up the development, they will impose the development, and we will get the fruit of development. No, because we also see even after numerous schemes coming up, we people, even common people, are not getting benefited from the development. Right? In that situation, what will you do? So you will have to report the development carrying out by different stakeholders, not a single stakeholder, and that is government. And hence, it is very, very important to understand the role of state in the development. And in order to understand it from media perspective, you need to know those theoretical framework which will help you to find out the role, identify the role of the place in one particular state. So so that you can identify the role of the place, role of press, role of media, media houses, even different independent media houses in one particular state, and their way of reporting. So it's very, very important. Okay, so you might have heard about Wilbur. Wilbur, who is Wilbur? Have you heard about Frederick R. Stewart? First round. Scrum has given a communication model. Now, we don't need to remember about Scrum. We are going to talk about the Sabre theory of development. What did Sabre discuss about? Now, development about the state and India. So, we will talk about Scrum later on. He has propounded certain theories of development. First one, development in relation to media and the state. So basically, this will talk about, these are called normative theories and social theories. How media should behave in relation to government, how media should behave, not media is behaving. Okay, how media ought to behave. So these are some of the normative theories. You might also say these are some of the social theories, because you see these theories will help your understanding, and it will also sharpen your thought regarding this media's role in one particular state. First one is authoritarian theory. Like when there is an authoritarian state system, you know, government is very autocratic, leader is also autocratic, there is a paternalistic figure. Most of the time, paternalism also associated with autocratic, but at the same time, we usually have two different varieties of leader. One is autocratic leader, one is paternalistic leader, and one is totalitarian leader. So their attributes are similar, but at the same time, authoritarian leader will not listen to anyone. Decision will be taken single-handedly, and it will also give a quick completion of task. But at the same time, you see government when turned autocratic. So you actually see that there is no role of civil society. So when you talk about the civil society, what is civil society? It is very, very important to understand the civil society. Media is a part of civil society. Now, do you understand what is civil society? NGO is a part of civil society. So when we say that civil society, so there is a constant interaction between state and civil society. So if state is a government, civil society is a one realm of, you see, ensuring people that responsibility, and also ensuring people autonomy to undertake certain tasks. So civil society is that realm which will help you to take certain responsibilities as an individual, and also it helps you to form a collective, to even pressurize the, the state, and also influence the government to carry out certain function in certain direction. So it's all about pressurizing, it's all about influencing the government to carry out certain tasks in certain dimension, in in the way which will benefit the members of the society. Now we see there are different agents of civil society. Media is also fourth pillar of democracy. At the same time, it is also an agent of civil society. NGOs are agent of civil society. Right. So first theory, say what? First theory is authoritarian. Authoritarian media theory. So in authoritarian media theory, when government is highly autocratic, media doesn't have any role. Media is simply handmaid of government, right? So media only report the government. Media give a sustenance to the government, and media cannot even have any voice. So basically autocratic, you see totalitarian government is there. In Russia also the totalitarian government is there. So you also had a theory called Soviet media theory. Soviet media theory. So now it is also not that relevant. But you see, authoritarian media theory is the first theory. After that, we had another theory, and that is also called the libertarian theory. Libertarian theory. Now there are some pursuit of media. So media basically, okay, libertarian theory is basically the free press theory. You know, free press, the role of the press, and the press should have that autonomy and the freedom to report, and also have the autonomy to import and export media messages. Now, in autocratic government, Media doesn't have any role in importing and exporting messages across the national frontiers or the boundaries. So it's very, very important. So importing, exporting messages across the national boundaries, across the state boundaries. So you cannot even accept any messages from outside. So there are some messages, internal messages circulated across the government and across the close circles, and that only can give you an impression about the activities going on. Okay, so you talk about this authoritarian media, there is no self-regulation. Now we talk about self-regulation of media, which is also very, very important. On the part of development journalism, self-regulation is important. But the thing is that when we talk about self-regulation, it also has a different dimension altogether. So we discuss about this theory. Theory will help you. It is not like it will make you more bookish. It will not make you more bookish. People say that who are bookworm cannot work in this field. No, it will sharpen your thought. So you need to know some of the theories. And you see, in communication, we only have that four theories. If you do any kind of carry out any kind of research related to print media, no. So you'll have to rely on these four theories only. Okay, so these four theories are important. I'm not going to go that detailed because in the coming weeks I'll be discussing about some of the principles of journalism, development journalism, and related with the theories, not in today's class. So we talk about these authoritarian theories, and then or authoritarian, okay, authoritarian media theory, libertarian theory. So there is no self-regulation. Media does not have to play any role. Media is simply the handmaid of this government, right? And media impose the government. Okay, media it doesn't believe in diversity. Diversity is important. Doesn't believe in plurality. Doesn't believe in decentralization of the media. So media has also different role. Diversity is very important, and pluralist media is important. And independent of external pressure is also very, very important. But here in authoritarian media theory, we won't see that media is independent from the pressure, external pressure, because pressure will always come from the government as it will report government. Media will report government, so media will have to entertain the pressure of the government. So it is not independent of external pressure. Media has a role of conscientizing people's mind. So that's what, when you talk about development, development is not about, you see, every time NGO intervention. It is also about conscientizing the mind of the people. What do you understand by conscientizing the mind? It's making people aware. How will you make people aware? It is not about constructing buildings, but it is about capacity building of the people. There are different indicators of development. We talk about human development indicators. We also talk about physical index. We talk about social development indicators. We talk about basic necessities. Right. When you talk about social development, it is the easiest way out. Okay. So health, we talk about the health, education, unemployment, illiteracy, hygiene. These are some of the indicators of social development. And the importance of social development, you see, came into focus after Second World War. Earlier we talked about economic development only, growth. Growth was the only factor, and that was the only measurement of development. So growth and per capita income was the only measurement of development. Now we see after first semester. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So after that, so we actually talk about the social development, that is one indicator. Then we see we have that growth factor, right? Growth factor was economic, related to economic development. And that was also one aspect of development before Second World War. Right. So we actually see there is also different agencies. You know this United Nation organization. So United Nation organization is intergovernmental organization. They usually what try to promote peace and also ensure human rights. Let people live with dignity. Let people live with what, right? So that's why it has been constructed. So there are different organs also. So as a development journalist, you also need to know about the function of the organs. Okay, how they are doing. I'll also share the course outline with you, so we'll come to learn. Now is the social development and difference. There is a difference between social and economic development. Then we see the basic necessities. Why we talk about basic necessities? Why basic necessities are important? Because without that we can't live. We can't live. We can live. Basic necessities. What is food is there? So without food, without having sufficient food, we will go malnourished and we cannot even gain energy. We need to explain. Now, from reporting perspective, you need to explain it. Okay, there are simple terms. You need to explain in such a way so that you can report, you can make people understand. Because that is also one job you can make people understand. When you say that we cannot live without food, because unless and until we have food, we won't get energy, we cannot have that level of satisfactions, and we cannot live up to our, you see, we cannot even get rid of that animal instinct. Okay, hence food is very important. At the same time, what is important? Shelter and clothing. So why it is important? These are basic necessities, but why it is important? So that we can live with worth and dignity without clothes. Will people call you civilized? Even now, also, when you see a modern people, usually say that it's like she has worn bigger amount of clothes, doesn't have any. So people don't understand. People still define people with the clothing, and it is also associated with civilization. You see, that is also very Indian concept nowadays. So that is an Indian concept of understanding, looking at it. But it has also changed. But you see, like in the city, small town, people still perceive clothing is an indicator of civilization, right? Civilized people, cultured people. Okay, so it is an indicator of culture, it is an indicator of civilization. So you see, without clothing, without shelter, you cannot have a basic, like, human, basic, dignified life or a worthy life. And to come out of that animal instinct, you need to have a fulfillment of basic necessities. So it is important, okay? So that is also another dimension of development. Now, after basic necessity, meeting the basic necessities, what we need? We actually need about, we need what? We need knowledge, right? We need level of life. When you say level of life, what is level of life? How will you define level of life? Through income. Okay, this is very, very important. So, after basic necessities, we need to have that level of life. First, basic necessities is important, then we need to access to knowledge, we need to have a level of life, access to income, and what is important? Standard of living. A standard of living that is also equated with income, level of life. That is a level of life. And spreading the knowledge. Spreading access to knowledge is fine. Then what is it? What is required? What are the three basic components after the basic necessities? Three basic components that will define the Human Development Index. So, ma'am, what we desire for? What we desire for. That is connected to happiness. Connected to happiness, right? What we desire for you. Huh? Good health. Yeah, good health. Good health is very, very important. So one is good health. Yeah, good health. Then second one is knowledge, and third one is level of living, right? So it's very, very important. Health indicator is very, very important. Okay, so and when you talk about the capacity building, now we talk about that briefly discuss, because I actually should not go through the concept of development that much, and to give you some understanding about this development journalism, I am discussing about the concept of development, and perhaps this will also be discussed in the coming classes. Okay, so when you talk about the capacity building, it's very, very important. How will you build the capacity? So this is another concept of development, sense concept of development. Okay, so we talk about the capacity and skill building. So which is equivalent to, you see, hard task of an NGO. If you look at the role of civil society intervention in one particular area, then you also talk about the hard task, hard task of capacity building of the community. Okay, so here, apart from that, there is also political dimension of development which is equated to modernization. Modernization of the administration, of the rules regulation, created a rationality. So when modernization has created a rationality in the rules and regulation and has given more emphasis to secular ethos and legal ethos. Okay, and that is equated to modernization. That is also equated to development. Urbanization is also equated to development and structural transformation. So you see structural transformation when you see this society has been transformed from that pre-agriculture to even industrialized society. Now we have moved to information society. So it has been transformed. Societies have been transformed. Our task has been also transformed. So number of people associated with the primary sector, that means associated with agricultural sector, will be more in underdeveloped country or developing countries than in developed countries. You see. So, structural transformation means transforming the labor component of the populations, their intake in different industry. Okay, so as society has changed, we also are moving towards more and more urbanization, right? And in developed countries, we actually see developed countries are more urbanized than rural, and less developed countries are more like in rural than urban. But at the same time, we also have a different concept of development, that is Gandhian concept of development, who talks about rural development. Okay, so that is also another concept of development, provide that a very dichotomous understanding. But at the same time, urbanization is also one indicator of development. More and more urbanized, the area is, more and more development is ensured. More and more people are in the secondary and tertiary sectors, in the industrial sectors, in the information sector. More and more the country is developed, right? So these are some of the indicators of development. It's very, very important. Why it is important to know what is development? Because development is not 9 to 5 job, and to be an agent of development, you have to have that commitment, you have to have that dedications, a continuous dedication, sustained dedication. Okay, not necessarily you will have to work like throughout the day, and sometimes you might have to work for 3 hours or 4 hours, and then again at night also you might have to work. So a dedication is there. So it's not a 9 to 5 job, that okay, you will go there at 9 o'clock, you'll finish your job, you'll come back at 5 o'clock. Not like that. Okay, so it is a sustained endeavor on your part. So why it is equated with this very clearly? So we do have this authoritarian media theory. So now role of media in development, in reporting development. When we talk about role of media in reporting development, how much freedom media has to report the development is very, very important. Okay, so we relate development journalism with reporting the development carried out by this government. But how much freedom media has to report the development? So in autocratic state, autocratic media theory basically define a connection of media and government, and that too in a political system which is highly parochial, autocratic in nature. Okay, so here media doesn't have any freedom to report. Media is not independent of any external pressure. Media does not have any kind of self-regulation. Media does not have any kind of plurality also. Okay, there are not diversified media to report on different sectors in the area. Okay, and there are also not many, you see, many independent media houses. Even those independent media houses are usually shut down. The censorship is being carried out in order to threaten media by the government. So you are talking about the China, yeah. Censorship regime is too much, you see, acute in China. So everywhere there is censorship. So internet has been censored, it has been shut down whenever there is some derogatory against this government. Derogatory, not even derogatory, some protest or opposition to government, internet has usually shut down. And there are different tactics also to shut down the internet. They usually carry out some of the internet cartoons in order to intimidate the people. Okay, internet cartoon are carried out with, like, with some of the portals. If you look at these portals, in each and every portals are connected to some internet cartoon. Okay, and then what happened, that cartoon will always intimidate you not to report wrong against a government, and not to do anything untoward. And definition of untoward is also very different for them. Intimidate the users. Okay, so in that way, they are educating people not to go against the government and inspiring people not to go against the government. Also, they do have those. You also see that there are other physical measures, or you see technical measures have been taken, that they need to make an internet cafe registered with the local government, and then if they won't get registered, they are supposed to get shut down. So there are some legal measures and technical measures have been carried out by government on the part of censorship. Now, like, this government is also, like, making some of the measures available. And even you see, when there is a protest during the COVID pandemic against the mishandling of this crisis situation, government also ordered Facebook, Twitter shut down, and also threatened to arrest a few of the, like, stakeholders of Indian stakeholders of Facebook, or Indian, you see, person of Facebook, Twitter, who have a stake in a way, who is into this managerial line of this platform, of arrest. So that is also another kind of autocratic state, right? So where media does not have freedom. So in autocratic media theory, so we cannot even, like, by that particular state, we cannot into come you cannot come into a conclusion that our state is autocratic. No. But yeah, government has turned to autocratic, by showing some of the measures. So you can also see those, where you can analyze those very aspects when government turned to autocratic. Okay. But we can also say that if are we democratic? No, that is a different. Now libertarian theory. When you talk about libertarian theory, this is a free press theory. When press has full freedom, means media has full freedom to report, criticize government. But at the same time, this is not for development countries. In developing countries, or you see, underdeveloped countries or developing countries, media cannot exercise that free role, because most of the time, even if media has exercised choice, the choice have been taken by the corporates and the capitalists. Right, media has full choice to import and export messages from outside. Okay, and those messages which are imported from outside are also designed by the corporates and this capitalist. Right. So this libertarian theory, which actually defined in free trade, is not that suitable for a developing nation. It's not that suitable for even an underdeveloped nation. This is suitable for Western countries. Okay, they can criticize government. Private corporate can criticize government for their action. But at the same time, it also dilute the diversity, because only the mainstream media house which have money can survive. So it is not, free press model is also not a, you say, ideal model of uh, development journalism, or even promoting development journalism in developing country. Okay, and then we also have another, which is Soviet Union. theory. So this is another dimension. Soviet media theory, now it is irrelevant. Let me tell you why this theory is irrelevant. Soviet media theory. Soviet media theory that came in 1917. So after 1970, it actually came in, and this is also an outgrowth of using authoritarian media theory. Outgrowth of authoritarian media theory, but the thing is that it has imposed media that self-regulation. You regulate yourself, but you are supposed to help us in sustaining our government. You are supposed to promote the party ideals. So promoting the party objective, promoting the party ideals is the goal of that media theory. But now it is irrelevant after the collapse of Soviet Union. Okay, so this theory has no value. But it is also an outgrowth of authoritarian media theory. But one thing is different in Soviet media theory that it talks about the self-government. But here in authoritarian media theory, there is no role of self-regulation of the media. But here in Soviet media theory, it focuses on media self-regulation. So media can report, you regulate. You regulate yourself, then you report. But at the same time, you also carry out this party ideal. So basically here it is also, see, the political communication dimension will come out along with this development. So you report the development carried out by this government. You report the ideals of the party. You report this objective of the party. You also help government to sustain. Like this authoritarian media. So media's role is to report the government to sustain. Hmm. So, but this is at the same time it is also very totalitarian. Okay, so media has the role in the sense that media can regulate itself. Government will not tell you basically how to report, what to report. But okay, your role is to report the development. But how to report, what to report is not supposed to be instructed by the government. But in authoritarian media, government will also intervene, interfere, not intervene, interfere in terms of reporting, how to report, what to report. Okay, so that is the difference. And then we see the fourth one is authoritarian, libertarian, Soviet media, the social responsibility. This is something which is very, very important. And when you talk about the development journalism, social responsibility theory. Now, development journalism will come in social responsibility theory. Okay, so now this is the responsibility of the media to report the development in the society. So this is meant for even the developing countries. Social responsibility of the press, social responsibility to scientize people, social responsibility to educate about the development, social responsibility to make people aware, social responsibility to create a participatory agenda. So here, our social responsibility to create a people's agenda. Okay, so that is for the social responsibility theory. This is also, yeah, help to define the development journalism. Okay, so here it says that the government is democratic. Okay, media can exercise, uh, there is no code of conduct, universal code of conduct which is imposed by the government on the media, but media need to behave responsibly in order to inform and educate people. Responsibly behave, as well as self-regulation is very, very important. And also it is the responsibility of the media to inform people about the government activities. Okay, to make people, you see, aware, conscientious, and also make people, you see, also create a people's agenda, create a public, you see, it is called public opinion. When you say public opinion, it has got, it's not that easy to define public opinion because it is always equated to public sphere. No, and most of the time, you see, democratic government will always rely on public opinion than an autocratic government. So, media has a role to create a public opinion and create a public sphere and create a forum for discussion. So, this is the social responsibility of the media to create a forum for discussion, to create a public sphere where it's and everybody can participate, and to create an opinion, not necessarily in favor of government. Okay, so this is the social responsibility of the media, which is very, very important, where media, diversified media can play a role. Diversified independent media house, citizen journalism, they do have different role. They are free from pressure, free from pressure of corporates, free from pressure of this government. But they know their role is to report the truth. They seek the truth, report the truth, and report adequately, okay, and report relevant. And also this social responsibility theory is associated with those principles of journalism like accuracy, discipline of verification, then balance, harmony. Okay, so these are some of the principles of journalism. So it is equated with those principles of journalism. Okay, so it believes in plurality of this media pluralism, media self-regulatory role of media. Media can regulate themselves while writing. Media can entertain people at the same time, right? Press can also entertain by covering those sensationalized stories and covering celebrities. They usually confer status on us, right? They confer status on us and they create a like sensationalism or sensation among us, right? And conferring status of us. We started thinking about Alia Bhatt or whosoever, because media used to report about them and about dress, about their pregnancy, about their marriage, so about their style. We also think, okay, this style is beautiful. In that way, we also adore um, him or her like that way. So in that way, confer status, right? So when it is also responsibility of this media, hmm, and it is through self-regulation to determine how much to report, how much to report sensation, how much to report development. So it's not that easy to report development and bring out of that entertainment syndrome. So we often go by that uh, entertainment syndrome, that we will entertain mass to report, and because this is what something interests public, but it is not. What interests public? What will interest public is so development. How it is equated with the development? Because it is the social responsibility of the media to educate and inform, then to entertain. So you don't have to think about entertaining people. But there is also another theory, media theory, education entertainment. Okay, education entertainment theory is there, but your role is basically to make people aware, make people educate, make people inform, create a public forum, create a forum for discussion, create a public sphere, and also behave independently and free from all external pressure. Okay, and show the truth to the people, the true pictures to the masses. Okay, so this is also equated to development journalism. Then apart from this, we also have two other theory, that is development communication theory and democratic media theory. So development communication theory is equivalent to social responsibility theory. So that is important, and democratic media theory, that is also equivalent concept. So I will discuss about these two theories later on. If you have any further questions, you can ask. No. Yeah. Any question?